Hare Krishna. I'm very much honored to be with all of you today. I was asked to speak on the topic of environmental crisis and the spiritual perspective in it. So, in the beginning of Bible, it is described the God's creation. And it is said when God created the world, He saw that it was good. So whatever God creates, it's good, and not for just for the time being, but for the all times, for the whole eternity. And in Ishopanishad, one of the prominent texts of Vedic literature, it is said, Ishavasya idam sarvam yatkinchat jagatam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita madgasya gridat svidhanam madgritakasya svidhanam. That everyone has his determined lot, what he gets in his life. And if we endeavor for more, we are considered thieves. We are considered thieves. And therefore we suffer by the arrangement of the universe. Because why we suffer? Because we put ourselves in the center of our considerations. We put our selfish interests before all others. In fact, it is described that we are here in this material world because we want to play the role of God. And God is described as an enjoyer who is the proprietor of everything. Bhoktaram yagatapasan sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. God is the proprietor of every tapasam, of every endeavor, and yagya, of every sacrifice. We all do some sacrifice all the time. For example, that you sit here, you sacrificed your time to come. And we also endeavor all the time for something. In Slovenian, I'm coming from Slovenia, we have a saying that without endeavor, without toil, we cannot put even a shoe on. So, and this endeavor and our sacrifices in life should be meant for the Supreme Lord, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. If they are not, if they are directed to our own enjoyment, then we face all other living entities who also consider that they are Supreme Lord, or also act as they would be the Supreme Lord. And therefore, because there are many Supreme Lords, there is conflict. And we can see that there is conflict on every level of existence in this material world. Even if we take a drop of blood, there is civilizations in this drop of blood fighting one another. And there is fight between husband and wife, between children and parents, between teachers and students, between nations. Everywhere it's fight. We all know that peace would bring us happiness, but there's no peace. From time immemorial there are wars. Just because we put our selfish interests in the forefront. Yes, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that there was a gathering of sages 5,000 years ago, big gathering of sages, and they chose one prominent sage called Sutta Goswami, and they asked him, Burini Buri Karmani Shrotavyani Vibhagasha Adaksadotrayat Saram Samudrita Manishaya Bruhi Badraya Bhutanam Enatma Suprasidati. You have studied many scriptures, and there are prescriptions for different paths, spiritual paths, and different religious rituals and so on. Please tell us what is the essence of everything by which the self, our Atma, our soul, can become suprasidati. Prasidati means happy. And as Prabhu described, we all want to be happy. This is our nature. It's described we are ananda mayo vyasat. We are the pleasure-seeking living entities. We cannot live without pleasure, even for a moment. Therefore, every our thought, every our word, every our action is seeking for pleasure, if we know it or not. So they ask him, please tell us, what is the essence by which everyone can become happy? And this is the purpose of all Vedic knowledge. Sarve sukhino bhavantu. Let all living entities be happy. And then Sutta Goswami, in the next chapter, he replies to this question. And he says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yatho bhakti radhokshaje ahaitukya pratihata yatma suprasidati. And he uses the same word, suprasidati. And he says how to become completely happy. Because prasidati, as we explained, means happy, and suprasidati means perfectly happy, completely happy. And he said that we can become happy, suprasidati, perfectly happy, only by unconditional love. Unconditional love. And this love should be uninterrupted. So if we expect anything in return in loving relationship, that means it's not real love. It's not unconditional love. It's to some degree mutual exploitation. Some kind of business deal. I put in relationship so much and I expect this in return. And of course, usually we expect little more in return. And if we don't get this in return, then we are disturbed. We become very much disturbed. And therefore there are fighting on all levels of existence. Yeah, so he explained, if we want to be suprasidati, we should develop ahaituki bhakti. That means unconditional love. Unconditional love. And it should be uninterrupted. If it is interrupted, even for 10 minutes, for example, then for 10 minutes we cannot be suprasidati. We cannot be completely, perfectly happy. And he says also one thing. This love should be directed to the Adokshaja. Adokshaja means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sense perception. Because, as we said, we want to be perfectly happy. That means not even for a fraction of a moment we should be miserable. Isn't it true? For example, if I ask you how much happiness in percentage you want to experience, please don't be shy. 100%. Everyone agrees? Yes, 100%. And how much misery in percentage you want to experience?
Zero.
Zero. Is anyone who wants to at least a fraction of misery experience? No one. But we do experience miseries in this material world. In fact, we experience miseries every day. But we are so accustomed to miseries that we sometimes don't notice them even. For example, the most common misery everyone suffers every day is that we have to go to the toilet. Because if we wouldn't go to the toilet, then real misery would start. So it's some kind of misery. Yes. And what this environmental crisis has to do with it? We do everything in this world, as we explained, just to be happy. And if we want to improve things, that means that we are not satisfied with our environment. Isn't it true? And it is explained that this creative desire to improve things is born out of the mode of passion. And passion means, besides the usual meaning, we all know that means also suffering. We speak about Christ's passion, isn't it? It means suffering. And in many languages of this world, passion means also suffering. The same word as for suffering. As it is explained that happiness in passion seems like nectar at the beginning and it's poison at the end. But goodness looks like poison at the beginning and nectar at the end. And what seems like poison at the beginning? To be disciplined, to live simply, without much demands. This seems like poison, but it turns to nectar at the end. I will tell you a short story about what they experienced in New York in the beginning of 20th century. At the beginning of 20th century, there was implementation of cars in New York, and they said that these vehicles, cars, are perfect ecological solution for New York, because because they faced a lot of this horse stool on the streets. And they said that car is completely pure vehicle, doesn't produces any waste. But now we know that this solution brought so much suffering and so much more pollution than this horse manure. Yes, and it is explained in by one great sage who is called Prahlad Maharaj, that solutions for problems, material solutions for material problems, will bring us more problems than there is in the original problem. And we can see that this applies also in this modern society. Human beings are, of course, intelligent, but this intelligence shouldn't be misused. We referred to the Bible at the beginning of our talk, and there is said that the human being is a master of creation, of all living entities. But that doesn't mean that we can kill them indiscriminately, everyone, and destroy everything. But we should be like a good Lord, like a father to everything, and good mother. Good mother and good father, they don't exploit their children, but they protect their children. So, modern world is extremely exploitative. We don't even notice. We are so accustomed to it. For example, there is a Chinese proverb. It's easier to put slippers on your feet than to cover all the world with carpets. But we don't just cover the world with carpets. We destroy hills to build our roads, and very, very broad roads, and we make huge bridges over the valleys just for us to move from one place to another. So we are so accustomed to such exploitative living that we don't even notice how harmful is for the whole existence. And if it is harmful for everyone else, is also harmful for ourselves. Yes. So the spiritual principle is simple living, high thinking. So we should connect with the Lord in our heart, with the Absolute. We should know, if we try to put ourselves in the center, everyone will suffer. It is called pritak bhava. Pritak means separate. If we put ourselves in the center, that means we separate ourselves from the Absolute. Yes, because then there are we and our world, and there are others. And it is explained that we are spiritual living entities. We are spirit by our nature. But because of ignorance, of avidya, we identify with something that we are not. We identify with this body. And we know that we are not this body, in fact, because the body is always changing, but we are always the same. Isn't it? If we take a picture of the time we were born in one hand and a mirror in the other hand, we can see that it's completely different personality. Isn't it? And even scientists say that every 7 years we change all the cells of our body. So on the gross level we are completely different, but not just on the gross level, also on the subtle level. Our worldview changed, our desires changed, our understandings changed, everything changed. But we know we are still the same person. We are still the same person. And even, for example, it's interesting, even the state acknowledges reincarnation. They don't know it, but they do, because they demand for every 10 years to have a new passport. They know you are the same person, but your body changed, so you need a new passport. Yes. So and because we identify with this body, which is just a whirlwind of material elements, it's dead practically, the soul is the living force within the body. And we, on one side, we bring different elements in our body, in this whirlwind, and on the other side, we give some elements back to the nature. And so this whirlwind exists for some time and then is destroyed. But if we identify with this whirlwind of material elements and we consider, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm Slovenian, I'm South African, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a dog or a cat, or a human being, or Chinese, or Christian, or Hindu, or Hare Krishna, that we are just identified with some outwardly situation, which is just temporary, and we are in illusion. And because of this avidya, therefore we think we are this and that, and we create, and we don't just identify with our body and mind, but we identify also with our world, with our family, with our culture, with our language, with our friends, with our relatives, with our football club, with everything that surrounds us. And whatever we think that supports this idea, this our world, we love this. And this is called raga. We are attached to this. And whatever we think that endangers our world, we hate this. And it's called dvesha. So there are football fans who hate another football club and their fans, and they fight among each other, isn't it? Like this also in South Africa. Do you have these experiences here? Yes. And because of this raga and dvesha, by this what we are attached to and what we hate, we are completely absorbed in material existence, and we fear death. So we can check with ourselves if we are afraid sometimes. Living entities in this world are always afraid, practically, always afraid. So if we have some small fraction of a fear, that means we identify with material situation. And we have pritak bhava, this separate identity from the Lord. And this separate identity is the cause of all suffering. And because we don't trust the Lord, we want to create so many things that would protect our life. And therefore we create new and new things, and because we have this pritak bhava, the separate identity, we don't care if we hurt other living entities by doing this. So we can destroy hills to build our roads. We can build huge bridges to cross the valleys. Because we don't care if we destroy the environment of our living entities. We put ourselves in the center, and therefore we are always afraid, we suffer. So the solution is to find peace in our heart by connecting with the Supreme Lord. And this art, this is the art of spiritual existence, is taught by every genuine spiritual path. Srivas Prabhu explained before, it's by calling the Lord's names. And this is not some sectarian idea of the Vedas, but it's present in all religions, in all genuine spiritual paths. For example, Jesus taught this Lord's Prayer, and it says, "Hallowed be thy name." And in the Psalms, in the Bible, it is mentioned, those who call upon the name of the Lord, they will be saved. And it is in Islam, there is 99 names of Allah. And even the Buddhists call upon the names of Lord Buddha. So we can see that this is a universal path in this age of Kali. It is explained in the Shastra, in the Vedas, that we live in the age of Kali. This is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And I'm sure I don't have to prove to you that this is true. That this is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. I'm a runner, and I went to run today, and I saw these billboards, "Rescue South Africa." Yes. So this is the consequence of anxiety. And if there is the solution which is offered is not spiritual, there will be no rescue of South Africa. I assure you. The solution should be spiritual. Solution should be our connection with the Lord through the chanting of His holy names. And was also mentioned by Srivas Prabhu, by associating with holy people. Because it is said that the birds of same feather flock together. And for example, if we associate with drunkards, we will definitely become a drunkard. Because what we will do in such association, they speak just about drinking and then they just drink. We will be bored to death if we would just be sober and sit with them. So we'll definitely start to drink ourselves also. And if we associate with the alpinists, we'll also start to climb ourselves, because it will be boring also in their association. So if we want to dive deeply in spiritual understanding, in understanding how to become suprasiddhati, as I explained at the beginning, to be completely, perfectly happy, then it is the art of spiritual living, the art of spiritual understanding, of the spiritual vision in everything we do. Hare Krishna. So I would like to ask you for questions. If you have any questions, I would be very happy. Please don't be shy. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Joy.
for a very inspiring class. I'd just like to ask, from your perspective, seeing that we are the environmental crisis, we are, most of us are local here. From your perspective, is there one way, which will be a simplified way, that we could enhance and make this place a better way to save the environment? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. As I explained, we can be happy only in spiritual consciousness. And this pollution we see in this world, this environmental crisis, comes from the pollution of the heart. Because of our greed, of our selfishness, we don't think, we don't consider our living entities, we just consider our profit, and we pollute everything around us. So the solution is to clean the environment of our heart. And the cleaning process is connecting with the Lord, with the chanting of the holy names. And of course, we are all living in this world. We cannot just jump out, and usually majority of people cannot just jump out of this world. So live with great moral integrity in this world as far as it is possible. It is also one principle in the Vedas described. It's not just ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence, but natihimsa, not too much violence. Because this is a miserable world, in fact. It is explained, ahastani sahastanam apadani chatushpadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. That one living entity lives at the expense of the other. So we should strive to do as little harm to our environment as possible, and to live connected with the Lord. And by this we can influence also other living entities, our other living beings, to become connected with the Lord, and therefore become suprasidati, to cleanse their environment of the heart, and by this slowly and gradually improve the condition of this world. Yes, this is, I think, the only solution. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm asking you about milk production and,
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
milk production, the consumption of human beings having milk, cow's milk basically, in effect.
Yeah.
And, the path to veganism. So one is vegetarianism, and then the veganism where you don't have milk products, because there's a double whammy when it comes to milk products, as the cow is impregnated manually by a human being, and then the calf is, that's how cows give milk when they get pregnant, like any mammal out there. And then the calf is born and is removed from the mother and it's taken for veal or for meat production, and likewise the mother gets for many years drained of the milk over the years, and then obviously gets killed for meat production. As far as how does in your opinion, years, how does that fit in as far as milk production is concerned? And look, ahimsa milk is one product that comes from a from a Gomata, shelter area where you can have milk from there. But modern milk, the way it's produced at the moment around the world, the 30, 40, 50 years ago was a different story. Today it's really changed the way the production of milk. And the cruelty is just, there's enough documentaries out there, Netflix, YouTube and stuff. When does the goalpost change as far as milk, consuming milk and using milk for prayers also change, when do we make that change as well? But that's one of the biggest environmental factors as far as emissions are concerned, because animal agriculture is a larger percentage of pollution in all transport, from motor vehicles to trucking to ships to planes around the world. Animal agriculture is the biggest problem. So vegetarianism is doing one thing, no doubt about it, not consuming animal products, but veganism is also doing fantastic work as far as not consuming milk products, which is helping the environment. I just want to get your opinion about that area. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. It's very important. In Vedas it is explained that milk is a magical food. It stimulates finest brain tissues in order to understand God. And cows and human beings were living in this symbiosis from time immemorial. They were created like this. Of course, it is extremely sad what people are doing with cows. They're killing their mother because they're feeding on cow's milk, and they kill their mother who is feeding them with their own milk. Yes, it's very sad. But we should know that if we have no other alternative, we should use the milk of cows we can get for the worship of the Lord. Krishna is a cowherd boy, and he is used to consume milk. And it's not just Krishna that he likes to consume milk. It's also beneficial for our health. Of course, if it's not so industrially changed milk, it's really not healthy at all. So the solution is to, of course, live spiritually ourselves and give this spiritual understanding to everyone else, and use milk and milk products in worship of the Lord, because this is the Lord's desire. One example is, and it's of course conducive to our spiritual understanding. In 1970s and 60s, when Srila Prabhupada came to America, there was only milk with added fish oil available. But he still used this milk for the worship of the Lord, because there was no other milk available. Yes, it's unfortunate, of course, and if we have our own farms where we care for the cows ourselves and devote the community with love and care, this is the best. But even though, if we don't have this opportunity, then the cow which milk was offered to the Lord has tremendous benefit, because her milk was offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if everyone would become a devotee, the cow killing would stop. So we should try to give this spiritual understanding to everyone. How many people are living here in Durban? Do you have an answer? Do you know? How many? What's the population of Durban? Sorry? 2 million? 2? 12. So many. So 2 million. Okay. Yes, but if you see here how many are interested in spiritual understanding, just a few. As Prabhu before said, Manushyanam sahasrashu kaschatati sidaye yatatamapi sidanam kaschanam veti tattvadaha. That only few among thousands, one maybe, doesn't say surely, but maybe, is interested in spiritual advancement. And by those who have attained spiritual perfection, only few may know me in truth. So yes, we should live by example and teach others to become spiritual themselves. And of course, we should use milk for the satisfaction of the Lord, and that is perfection for the cows and for the milk. But of course, we should know that we shouldn't exploit ourselves. Yes. I don't know if I satisfied you by the answer.
Watching the videos and documentaries and watching what goes on. Lord Krishna says it's a leaf. Offer a leaf really meant to find. And I went for a prayer to Stranger and they did the ways they were pouring milk to Lord Shiva. And the wastage of milk was, I mean, information is power. I read the Higher Taste when I was 16 years old. I'm 55 now, and that's how I became vegetarian. Because at 11, 12, I could feel there was something not right about eating meat. I had no idea why. But when I read the Higher Taste, it sorted everything out there, and then the environmental reasons, that's why I became a vegetarian. With a bit of fight back from my family, because they felt I was missing out on some things. And now veganism, learning knowledge is power again, and learning about, I love paneer, I love cheese, and what we use today, the way milk is, it says it's just like sugar. It has that thing which gives you a dopamine kick, and that's why I cheese it and enjoy it, and that's why America pushed the milk mustache. It's all a marketing ploy. As far as spirituality is concerned, I understand about the buttermilk, Lord Krishna, but the goalposts have changed. I mean, ghee is fantastic. Ghee is the ultimate pure Ayurvedic. Only now the Western world woke up to realize how healthy ghee is, because we remove all the impurities. It's milk which is boiled, and boiled impurities removed. The milk what we get today is unhealthy, and most people around the world, and even in Asia, are 70% lactose intolerant. So inflammation, phlegm, and all this happening in the body, which the Western world didn't know about, but from Ayurveda people they know about it now, but thousands of years it's been now manuscript. So lots of stuff, from acne to you name it, milk can produce a lot of problems. Look, mother's milk, no doubt, when the baby's born, it's the best. You can't get better than that. But likewise for the calf, the cow, and likewise any other mammal or any other animal out there. But the way milk is produced today, there's no Einstein milk unless you go to the cow and then get it from there. It's really sad that we have to get our head out of the sand and see what we're eating, because food is your health. Food is your medicine. If you get that right, your cupboards, your fridge sorted out, your diabetes, cancers, your heart disease, most of the stuff goes away. Headaches, the works,
Yes, I agree.
So
yes, I agree.
You sort it out. Not that I've got everything right. I'm still learning every day. I don't know everything. I'm just learning every day slowly. But that's
Yes, I agree with you. This industrial changement of milk is, of course, not healthy. It creates many diseases. So the best solution is to get out of the cities to the countryside, to tend cows ourselves, and then everything will be perfect. Yes. So if you meditate about this, I recommend that you start a farm and invite other people to join you. It's very good, actually. It's very good. And live simply, connected with the Lord, and teach everyone else. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there anything else? Oh, there will be just a few minutes. I will try to answer also these questions here. When we leave our body, even by doing spiritual duties, serving Krishna, do we, what is this? Do we go to the spiritual world? This is one question. do we certainly go to the spiritual world? This is a very good question.
Yes.
Because in Bhagavad-Gita, in 8th chapter, it is explained, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavan terjantyanti kalivram tam tamaveti kaunta sadhatat bhava bhavita. That whatever state of consciousness one has at the time of death, that will certainly attain that state of consciousness, that state of living, that state of existence. It's quite interesting that many people think that death will bring us some kind of miracle. For example, I'm coming from Christian background, and I know majority of Christians, at least in Slovenia, is like this. They live ordinary material life, but they consider themselves good people, and that at the end of life they will go to heaven. But here Lord Krishna in 8th chapter, as I explained, says whatever consciousness we have, that consciousness will definitely attain this state, such state of existence will attain. So if one wants to live in heaven after death, he should live in heaven now. And if we want to live in spiritual world after death, we should live in spiritual world now. Death is just the change of our outwardly dress. It's not the change of our existence. The death is not a miracle. Because people think, even devotees many times, that I have my material desires and material life, and which is not very good for spiritual life. But Krishna is merciful, and at the end of my life I'll go to the spiritual world. No, has Krishna just recently became merciful? Or he's eternally merciful? What do you think? Eternally merciful. But why we are still in material world? Because he's so merciful that fulfills our desires. Yes. So if we have this desire to go to spiritual world, to serve Krishna, we should transcend our material existence now. And we'll just continue. As Kadamba Kanana Maharaj said, that death is just the change of service. So we'll just continue our existence on the spiritual realm. So we should be established in spiritual consciousness now. This is the point. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.